Hello and welcome to Clever Witty Gaming. Now, heads up, this will be a massive spoiler alert. If you have not seen Star Wars The Last Jedi and you do not want the film to be spoiled, do not watch this review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. So once again, I will say that just one more time. If you do not want the plot or anything of Star Wars The Last Jedi to be ruined for you, do not watch this video. Right. So, Star Wars The Last Jedi, let's talk about, actually one thing I should probably talk about first is, I don't normally do movie reviews, I don't plan on doing movie reviews on this channel, but I am a massive, humongous fan of Star Wars. I'm one of the biggest Star Wars nerds you'd ever meet, and yeah, let's talk about Star Wars for a little while. So, Star Wars The Last Jedi, the review. So, we're going to cover some good, we're going to cover some bad, and then some other stuff, and then after that I'm going to give you my final thoughts. So let's talk about the bad. The first bad thing is, I thought I saw James Corden at the beginning. I don't like him, just like I don't like Ed Sheeran, and he appeared in Game of Thrones and really knocked me off, sort of out of that sort of, it made me pull me back into reality instead of, you know, but when you see a very famous celebrity who you dislike, kind of pulls you out of that sort of fantasy sort of, I don't know, sort of experience. It pulls you out of the immersion, and I swear I saw him as a pilot in like an X-wing in Star Wars, and I think it's the fact that I just hate James Corden. I'm not going to make any more excuses. I just don't like James Corden. Just that's pretty much it for him. And so from now on, at the end of every video, I'm going to be saying apologies for James Corden, because I don't like him and he keeps appearing everywhere, and he's from England. So from now on, I'm just going to say apologies for James Corden at the end of every single video I do. Just you know, because I don't like him. So the bad. Let's actually get into the serious part of the review now. The bad. So let's start off with what happens at the beginning of the film. So basically, the Empire found the Resistance, or the Rebels, whatever you want to call them. They actually are the Resistance, but you know, at the same time, they just remind you of the Rebels. You know, it just really doesn't make any sense. The fact that they actually mainly control the galaxy, and then, you know, now they've lost it all to the First Order, who suddenly now control the galaxy. Yeah. So yeah, the First Order found the Resistance. Just basically, they're outnumbered. They're blowing up their bases and their ships. You see James Corden. Apologies for James Corden once again. You know, it just wasn't exciting. It's just like watching the Resistance get destroyed. That's all it really felt like. For me, it wasn't entertaining. I mean, it's kind of awesome. It would have been awesome if, like, the Resistance actually had a little bit of fight in them, but it just felt like the whole time it was a full-on retreat. And then what happens next? They're stuck in space for a very, 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 very long time. For most of the movie, the Rebels, or I keep saying the Rebels because that's all they really are to me. Like, the Resistance it doesn't even sound cool. The Rebels was awesome. Like, the Resistance is not as cool as the Rebels. I know they're the same people, but yeah, they were stuck in space most of the time in the film, and it just sucked. It was just sort of them getting fired at constantly by the Empire to remind that they're still there. And then they're running low on fuel reserves to keep the shield up to stop the Empire from blowing up. And you see a lot of major plot holes where, like, the support ships that are flying around could have easily gone in to the main ship and dropped off all the people. Now, my friend reckoned that the Rebels did go into the main ship and drop off the people, but who was piloting the support ships then? I don't know, but you know, it just felt weird that those support ships would have fit inside the shield of the main ship. I'll be honest with you, that's what it felt like to me. So yeah, I really did not like that part. Well, most of the film then, because, you know, it just felt like the Rebels, who are supposed to, you know, who are veteran fighters by now. Let's be honest, they've been fighting the Empire and, you know, the First Order for a long time now. It just felt like they had no fight in them anymore. It felt very sluggish. And then obviously you had Poe Dameron, who was on the ship as well. His starfighter gets blown up, and he just, apart from starting a mutiny, and not a very long one at all, doesn't last very long. he does nothing throughout the entire film for me. He could have done a little bit more. That's actually quite a shame for me, because he's actually one of my favourite characters in the newest Star Wars. He's someone that actually brings life to it. Apart from a bit of forced humour, which was in Force Awakens, he brought a lot of life to Force Awakens, and I was really looking forward to see what he was up to this episode. And I was really disappointed by Poe. I'm not blaming the actor. I think the actor is quite good. I really want to see him in more Star Wars films. So let's hope that they we see a bit more of him. See some backstory would be really good. So yeah, the ship obviously is being trapped, and from there I think we kind of jump to Rey, who is now found Luke Skywalker, and surprise, I think we all kind of predicted that Luke didn't want to train her. I mean, I think it's something sort of like in the Jedi world. It seems like this is something which is quite common. I really wish they wouldn't have done that, because as I said, it feels like a common trope. Because if you look back in the older episodes, episode 4, Yoda didn't want to train Luke because Luke was too old. You look at episode 1, Yoda thinks that Anakin is too old to be taught, so does Mace Windu. It's as I said, it seems like a common trope, and obviously, Luke didn't want to train Rey, obviously for different reasons, but it just seems like Jedis don't want to train other Jedis anymore. No wonder the Jedi Order was falling apart, and no one wants to train each other. But yeah, surprise, it's quite comical how he just threw the lightsaber into the sea. That was kind of funny. It didn't feel that forced, but at the end of the day, for me, it felt out of character for Luke Skywalker to just randomly throw a lightsaber into the sea. For me, it felt like it had a bit more common sense than that. Obviously, he argues that he doesn't want to train anyone, and you find out the reason why later. And it seems that Rey as well has a connection to Kylo Ren as well, because she's able to. You find out why she has a connection later on, but him and Kylo are able to see him and Kylo. She and Kylo, Rey and Kylo are able to see each other through the Force, and they seem to be able to contact each other. Yeah, you find out later on. I mean, this is a spoiler review, so you're going to find out now that it's actually Snoke who's been doing all that. Snoke was one of the biggest disappointments yet, and I don't want to cover that bit yet. But it seems that they can. He's been manipulated to be able to connect to each other, and it's all to try and get Rey to turn to the dark side. Surprise. But yeah, going back to the Rebel ship, Finn obviously wakes up from his, I don't know if you call it coma or drug sleep. I don't know if he was on drugs or if he was in a coma. Never really is explained what he's in, what medical state he's in. You just see him lying in a, I get it, he's probably had an operation, but it'd be nice to see, he's in a coma or something. Just say he's in a coma. It's probably a bit obvious, but yeah, he wakes up, sees Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron obviously says how what's going on, and obviously Poe lets him know what's happening, and pretty much straight away, once he's sorted his water suit from leaking everywhere, which he's been laying in for God knows how long, and he gets himself dressed, find out what's happening, and basically they're told to do nothing while the ship is going to basically be destroyed. Basically Finn and Chewbacca go off. No, it's not Finn. No, not Chewbacca. Sorry, I got it wrong. Chewbacca's with Rey. Finn and Rose, which is a new character you meet in this Star Wars, go off to I can't remember the name of the planet. They go off to a planet. Let's just call it a planet. They go off to a planet. And basically, it's a planet where the rich basically, it's a bit like the United Kingdom. The rich basically own everything, and everybody else is sort of just like having to work shitty jobs and basic slavery. It's, that sort of stuff. But yeah, you see Finn, and they're looking for a guy who'd be able to hack the radar of the big Snoke ship, so they'd be able to get actually out of the area to try and save the rebels. And obviously this is all behind the rebels' back. They were told not to leave. Basically while that's happening, Poe Dameron starts a mutiny to allow time for the for obviously Finn to come back. But at the end of the day, Finn's sort of off story sort of leads to nothing anyway, because you know, you meet Benicio del Toro there, who is this massive master coder, they call him, I believe, and basically after they're doing a little bit of a sort of like a mini revolution on that little planet where everyone is treated like rubbish, basically he goes off with them, and he actually betrays them eventually to Phasma, and yeah, it's just kind of weird. It happens so quick that Benicio del Toro betrays them just to get more money from the Empire. I mean, he's a bit of a weird character, top-notch acting by the guy, but it's just kind of weird. Like, after he betrays him, you just don't see the guy after that. You know, you don't know what happens to him. Maybe it's because I don't know if he's going to have another role in Star Wars Episode 9. It would be good to see, you know, see what happens to him, see if Rose and Finn catch up to Benicio del Toro, and see, you know, why he you know, obviously they know why they betrayed him, but, you know, get to the real sort of get a bit of own back or something on him. But yeah, from there, obviously, you know, they the reason they got betrayed is obviously they went to try and disable the radars so the rebels could escape on Snoke's ship. Not escape on Snoke's ships, but they went on Snoke's ship so they can disable the radar. Basically, he kills Phasma. Yep, that was sort of like that. It was really rather quick. It was awesome though. It was for how long it was awesome. I would like to see a bit of a longer battle and some of the extra content they shoved in there didn't need to be there. That was kind of cool. Shame that we won't see Phasma anymore, and that she's dead. Quite a few big characters actually die in this episode. Real big shame, really, to be honest with you. Some of the characters that die, kind of a shame. I mean, some of them you kind of understand. But yeah, so you see Rey is obviously mostly, you know, finds out while she's back with Luke. She finds out why Luke doesn't want to train anyone else and why Kylo hates Luke so much, because it turns out that Rey basically, you know, is being told by Kylo that is what did he tell you about the temple and everything, and basically Luke gives one side of the story about him, basically he saw darkness, and the next day that Kylo Ren thought he'd blow up the temple for some random reason, and you actually find out that it's actually Luke saw the darkness in Kylo Ren and got scared, and he thought he'd try and kill Kylo before he basically becomes this massive another Darth Vader type person. And yeah, so it's Luke getting scared, and, you know, really kind of forms sort of mini towards the darkness there. You can see that you know, Luke was actually on the limits of falling to the darkness, because, you know, he's killing pupils. We know that his father killed younglings, obviously, as once stated by Obi-Wan Kenobi. So yeah, you find out all that, and so she goes off. She thinks that she can turn, because she's able to connect to Kylo Ren. She thinks that she can turn Kylo Ren to the light side, which would have been a very interesting twist, but that doesn't happen. It comes close, sort of close-ish. But yeah, it's yeah. She goes off to see Kylo, but it turns out that Kylo isn't interested in coming to the light side. She delivers her straight to Snoke, and Snoke sort of just says, you know, you're easy. I can easily manipulate him. I sense the weakness in Kylo Ren. You can even see into his mind that he's even want to kill all his enemy now. And basically, the biggest plot twist for me, which is also a disappointment, I know a lot of people probably disagree, but the biggest disappointment for me was Snoke just getting killed off by Kylo Ren. That's right, Snoke gets killed by Kylo Ren. I mean, he's supposed to be this really awesome bad Sith guy who's, you know, he's been manipulating Kylo Ren, he's been turning, you know, the dark side, he's brought back the fucking First Order, and he's a supreme leader of the fucking army, and he gets killed by Kylo Ren, who's not exactly the most veteran of Jedis or Siths or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, it's I don't know what the fuck went on there. It's just a shame because I want to see more from Snoke. There's a lot of, you know, it felt like there was a lot missing from Snoke. Felt like his sort of storyline or storyboard wasn't fleshed out enough. It would have been just good to see his history, where he came from, why he's doing it, and all that sort of bullshit like that. You know, it's not bullshit, but you know what I mean? Just, you know, all that sort of like information as a Star Wars fan want to see. You know, it'd be good to see all of that, but unfortunately we didn't. And now he's dead. How come we don't have him as a DLC in Star Wars Battlefront? You know, he's dead, so let's kind of have him as a DLC character already. It's yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't really impressed with him killing Snoke. It was kind of cool that he betrayed Snoke. I didn't expect that to happen. I'll be honest with you. It was a good twist, and then the twist was as well that instead of him killing Rey, which he was supposed to do, him and Rey worked together to kill all of Snoke's guards, and then once they stop killing all the guards and then look at each other, Rey tries to tell Kylo to come with her, and basically, you know, it's not too late to come to the good side to help the rebels, then you're going to need our help. But he says no, and basically he does what Anakin does and says, "This is my new empire. I can rule this," and he can. And basically, his plan is to not just to get rid of the First Order, not just to get rid of the Sith, but to get rid of the Jedi and to get rid of everything else. Meanwhile, as well, obviously, going back to Luke, Luke goes to burn down the original sort of like Jedi tree, which was there since like the Wills. If you don't know what any of that is. You need to do a bit of research on Star Wars. I can't be bothered to explain all that, I'll be honest with you. It's a very, very long explanation. And Yoda's ghost appears, and it seems that they actually used practical effects, which I'm really happy that they're using practical over digital. I've always been a fan of practical effects. It's just something I prefer over the digital effects of the movies. So that then it goes back to they've just killed obviously Snoke and everyone, and Finn's just killed Phasma. But what happens next? I'm not sure if Finn kills Phasma after or before this happens. But basically, the rebel ship, they're all the big rebel ship has decided to evacuate everyone. This is what happens in the meantime as well. That they evacuate everyone to the smaller ships. And basically, they're heading down to the planet of Dakar. And basically, but before that happened, Benicio del Toro told the First Order that they're escaping with cloaking devices, and obviously the Empire, or the First Order, whatever you want to call them, start firing upon the rebel transport ships and blows up fucking shitloads of them. But the last rebel attempt, the woman who we all thought was going to be a bit of a bitch, turns out that she's a bit of a hero. I'm not going to ruin everything for the movie. I'll give you something to watch. Basically, she aims the ship and goes to light speed through Snoke's ship, which then obviously you get another tease of death. You think maybe Finn's dead and Rose is dead. But and Rey's probably, you think probably Rey probably might have died, or Kylo might have died, but no, somehow they all lived the ship blowing up to fucking pieces. They all lived that, and they all sort of head towards this base on Dakar. And basically, now that Kylo has full control of the army, the guy comes in. I can't remember what his name is now. The ginger guy who's in charge of the First Order army, he's the one who built it up. He comes in and says, "What happened to Snoke? What happened here?" And Kylo Ren says, "Oh, I want everyone on that planet." And basically says, "Oh, you can't do that. You're not the Supreme Leader." And basically he just does the Force strangle. He's like, yes, Supreme Leader. And he's like, yeah, this guy's got the Force. You're not gonna be fucking this guy up. But he could easily be betrayed. Let's be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, how easy it is to take down a Jedi or a Sith when you've got a whole army of people, blasting on someone, it's going to be easy to kill them. So they're all on the planet, and basically they're running out of time. It's an distress beacon, and Rey comes along and saves the basically what happens is they decide to go out and try and blow up this massive battering ram laser. It's not a battering ram, but it's a massive laser which is going to basically burn through the door which they're hidden in the base. There's a massive door that shuts down. That's supposed to protect them. But basically, the Empire, the First Order come down. They fire us massive lasers. They're trying to burn a hole through it. But basically, the Resistance idea was to send some ships out and try and take out that laser. But as they go along, TIE fighters come along, blowing up pretty much all the ships that are coming towards them. So really, the rebels don't even fight back once again. By now, obviously, Leia's woken up from being in a coma and all that. I forgot to mention she went in a coma. It was, as I said, it wasn't very interesting. Leia somehow had superpowers. She got blown up. She had superpowers somehow. Sort of hovered herself in space and went into a coma. I didn't want to mention that bit because it's just so crap. You know, Leia doesn't have the Force. She has the Force, but you know, she's not a trained Jedi, so there's no reason for her to be able to have that sort of strong powers at all. In that, it just didn't make sense. Really sucked. I know some people think it's cool, but you know, being a Star Wars fan, if you know sort of how Star Wars, the Force works, stuff like that, it just didn't make sense. So yeah, so she Poe Dameron says pull a full retreat, and I think she says retreat, and they all pull a full retreat, and Poe Dameron. Finn doesn't want to retreat. He tries and takes out the lasers. He says, I don't want him to win anymore, and he says, I'm not going to let him win this time. And basically, Rose comes out of nowhere and basically knocks into Finn's ship and saves Finn from dying. So you obviously get a tease again of you think maybe Finn is dead, but no, he's fine. But it looks like Rose might die. But you know, basically Rose ends up in the same position that Finn was at the end of Force Awakens. I can't remember if she wakes up or not. This is all going from memory. I've only seen the film once. So once that has all happened and Rey's come along to fight off some of the fighters to try and, you know, give Finn a bit of extra time, they're out of options, and out of nowhere, Luke Skywalker appears and says hello to Leia. And basically, once he says hello to Leia, he basically just says, goes out there and challenges Kylo. But Kylo, I mean, first of all, Kylo fires everything at him. He's like, fire everything at him. Everything is just like, he fires everything, and the general next to him just goes, do you think you hit him? As sort of like more forced comedy there. And yeah, it's you know, that forced comedy is just not. I wish they stopped doing it. Star Wars isn't really, you know, meant for forced comedy. It's nerdy, and that's the way I like it. So, as I said, he fires everything, and surprise, surprise, when all the dust clears, Luke is still there. Kylo gets his ship, lands it, goes to confront Luke. They fight for quite a while. But while they're fighting, it turns out that was a distraction, so the rebels could actually escape that base. The rebels go, hey, if these ice wolves which ran into their base, I forgot to mention that as well, the ice wolves they saw when they ran in, but he said, oh, if they're escaping somehow and Luke got in here, there must be a way out. Basically, they go searching for all these tunnels. They find the way out, but it turns out it's blocked by rocks, and Rey moves all the rocks. And just as they get out, basically, he stands there, just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, I'm talking about Luke now, sorry. And Kylo Ren does one swipe at him, really, really fast swipe. And you think, oh no, he's killed Luke. You think, oh shit, Luke's dead. But then it turns out Luke is just fine. You're like, what the hell's happened? And no matter what they do, it seems that they can't hurt Luke. And you think, well, what the hell's going on? And it turns out that Luke actually isn't there. He's projecting himself through the Force there. And he just looks at Kylo and just goes, see you around, kid. And like Kylo's just losing his shit right there. And basically Luke, you know, sort of after that you see Luke die, unfortunately. He I'm not sure, he just turns into powder like Yoda did and like Obi-Wan did. So very, very, very close to the source sort of material there. Then what happens after that? Pretty much it's just sort of some kids look up and they point their ring, these rings that you see throughout the whole film, which when they press a button turns into a rebel signature. So it's supposed to say that there was hope going out throughout the galaxy. So So the good and the bad. The bad was obviously Snoke dying. The bad was also the Leia's part, the rebels. A lot of plot points were dropped from Force Awakens. So, you know, you see Maz for a second where she says she sees different eyes and, you know, stuff like that. Just all that is forgotten about. Not much Chewie involved, really. So if you're a massive Chewie fan, you don't see him for very long and hardly at all, really. R2-D2, once again, nothing really there with him. You see 3PO a couple of times. Not much there. When it comes to the good parts, I'd probably say Kylo and Rey, sort of when, you know, Kylo killing Snoke and them working together, and then Kylo, you know, sort of going all Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. You know, that was the kind of cool part. There wasn't, as I said, it's not the best film in the world. I thought the writing was pretty poor with it. Graphically is very nice, but with a boring plot with the rebels being stuck in the middle of space, Poe Dameron not doing anything really throughout the entire film apart from one little sort of mutiny, and then at the end when everything feels like it's actually going to start moving in the film fucking ends. You know, Snoke, as I said, Snoke dying, and, you know, as cool as the scene was, you know, didn't know enough about Snoke. Phasma dying as well, that was too short for me. I give the film a 5 out of 10. I was really disappointed. It's about an average film. It's, you know, there's nothing sort of makes you go, oh, this is really, really awesome. It's no Goodfellas, it's no Casino, it's nothing that will blow your mind away at all. I don't think you'll be really over impressed with it as a Star Wars fan. You might like it or not. As I said, this film has really split people's opinions over, I mean, what's happened in it. I personally think that the film was sort of just okay. It wasn't the best film in the world, so that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. It's not a terrible film, yet it's not a good film. It's just an okay sort of film. You know, if it wasn't for the graphic, I mean, when it comes to graphics, it sort of goes towards a maybe 5.5 towards a 6. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend going to a cinema and seeing it. I would wait for a Blu-ray release and picking up a copy, or have a friend pick up a copy and you watch it together, sort of thing. I wouldn't pay the cinema prices that Disney are asking for to watch that film, because obviously they hiked the prices up and said that only cinemas can only sell the film at that price. So there we are. Sorry for the boring gameplay of the last part there, guys, but that's my view on Star Wars The Last Jedi. Sorry if you didn't like it. I'm not very good at this, but as I said, this is just saying, because I'm a massive Star Wars fan, I thought I'd cover it and just warn you guys what actually happens before you go out and watch it, or, you know, or if you've watched it and you want to know what my thoughts are, especially if you know me. I know a few people who know me watch my videos and sort of wonder. You know, I do talk to some of my community. I do talk sort of about some of the stuff that I play and watch, and they probably want to know my thoughts on Star Wars. And there you go, that was my thoughts. 5.5 out of 10. I'd probably say is my highest rating I could give it. And yeah, disappointing. Really disappointed. Let's just hope that J.J. Abrams will be able to bring it back for the next Star Wars Episode 9. I've now got hiccups. Probably the worst time to get it is right at the end of a video. So I'm going to leave it at that, because I think this video has been long enough as it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'm now going to take a break over Christmas, guys, because, well, it's Christmas time. I want to rest up. I want to write up some new ideas for some videos. I've got some plans of stuff like I might do, yeah, and I might make some videos, but I might not release them until the sort of after Christmas, maybe New Year sort of time. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Goodbye.